To this Belly Up media production. Some said we'd go belly up, so we made it our name. And we're still here.
The following announcement has been paid for by the Scoreboard Addicts podcast.
Gets me every time. The little shoulder shimmy every time. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm Matt. This is Sal. We're the
What's up, guys?
Oh, almost said Scoreboard Addicts, but no.
No.
That's the other jabronis. Us, we're the Rasslin Addicts.
That's right.
Was the when the intro was playing, was it like doing a little skipping for you, or
No,
did it play clear? No,
it played clear for me.
Looks like we might have the podcast special to where I work from home all day with no internet issues, and then we start our show, and then all of a sudden, I'm being kicked out. And yeah, listen, hopefully we have no technical issues today. And I'm excited for the show. We haven't really been consistent with it due to holidays and work schedules. So we had a show last week, which is just uploaded to all major podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, the other ones. And
all of them, just every
all of them.
Where you get podcasts, we're there.
Well, yeah, we're where there's a podcast, there's a Rasslin Addict. So make sure that you're checking us out. And it's been quiet, I feel, with nothing really like major happening in the past week. So where would you like to start off?
I think we have to start off with the Punk stuff.
And it's his birthday, right?
Yes. Happy birthday, Phil. I think it's his 44th birthday, I think they said.
44,
so
64. Same thing.
Happy birthday to Mr. Phil Brooks. But
yeah, and you know what? You know what I should do? I should go pour myself a drink for Mr. CM Punk.
Have a nice shot for him.
Yeah, being that he's unable to take shots. Wait, I'm sorry. You're right. He can't take shots, but he gives them all the time. And then, it's all over the internet, the rumors about a possible buyout. And what are your thoughts on this situation?
I think you have to, especially with this rumor that what's holding this buyout up is the non-compete clause in the contract, and that's interesting. Why is a non-compete holding a buyout? What's holding? Why is that holding it up? Well, he could jump to WWE, and there's rumors out there that Triple H is interested. He's saying, whatever makes compelling television, and say what you want about CM Punk, but he is compelling television. I mean, he goes out there and he's, most of the time he's the most interesting person on the television screen, and especially for AEW, he was. I looked forward to his segments on AEW, and that's a big loss for them. I know some people are disagreeing with that, but backstage, he's no big loss. by. Then nobody's missing him backstage, but on screen, business wise, viewership wise, merchandise wise, that's a big loss. If they lose him, that's a tough one to lose, I think.
What made him CM Punk so interesting for you when it came to AEW?
He was just very real. You see a lot of today scripted promos. It's very stagey. He just kind of went out there and said, "Hey, he spoke his mind." You could tell his promos were genuine, and I mean, he has one of the greatest rivalries in the history of AEW with MJF. I mean, that rivalry is nothing topping it over there. I mean, that's for me. That's top. That's the top rivalry ever in AEW. So, I would argue that he is compelling television, and I mean, he's not too compelling behind the scenes, and I would agree with that. But he did a lot of good business for AEW.
Do you think, being that AEW has a little more freedom to
Oh
do
yeah.
and say what they want,
Mhm.
that's what made Punk a little more compelling?
Yes, I think the creative freedom over there helped. Tony is at the end of the day, Tony is the final say. But let's be honest with each other, he's not going to tell CM Punk to do something if he doesn't want to do it. So obviously,
And I think that's the problem,
well,
which is
that's
why we're in this
that's a problem with a lot
situation
of
with
things.
him.
So it's a problem with Chris Jericho over there. It's a problem with Moxley. It becomes a problem. Punk, I'll say this: I know a lot of people do not want it to happen, but if he goes back to WWE, there's a lot of money left on the table for him. There's some money to be made.
What
Imagine a CM Punk Bloodline feud. That would be other than bringing The Rock in, there's no bigger match for Roman Reigns.
I agree. It's just I feel like he's so toxic
Oh, he's
that
toxic.
the toxicity, good word, outweighs the benefits that he could bring in.
Here's how you prevent that. You give him a Brock Lesnar deal. We don't need to see CM Punk on television every week. The locker room doesn't need him there every week. You think people like Brock Lesnar? You think everybody in that locker room right now is, best friends with Brock? No. I'm sure 90% of them don't even like him. But it doesn't matter because he's not there anymore. I mean, he's not there anymore on a full-time basis. Part-time, they could deal with it. He comes in, does what he has to do, does it well, and leaves. And I think that if you present a contract like that to CM Punk, I don't see a problem with it.
I agree with that because and it's like that meme from Batman. If you live long enough, I'm butchering it, but like you go from like the villain to like the hero to the villain. And I feel like with Punk, everything that he said years ago during, the summer of Punk after the pipe bomb is he's turning into that. And it would be interesting to see him back in WWE. If it doesn't happen, I could care less, but like
I don't care one way or another if it happens or it doesn't, but if it does happen, you got a lot of things you could do with Punk. I mean, he is still a drawing card. He's a pain in the ass to deal with behind the scenes, but You know, he gave AEW the first $1 million gate. You know, he was one of the main reasons why they were over 1 million viewers for a little while. You know, yeah, he had some of the highest rated segments on television for them. He sold the most merch. I mean,
I
that's just
think I think if he does come back to WWE, all that would happen minus it like really be compelling TV because like he won't be able to say shit. He won't be able to like be as free with his promos. I mean, I don't think he would have like word for word scripted promos like because it seems like a lot of people, a lot of the wrestlers in WWE now don't have those. So, you know, listen, his merch will always sell. He has cool
mhm,
shirts, he has a cool logo.
mhm.
You know, him feuding with Roman, him feuding
No,
with the Bloodline, you
imagine the
know,
promos with him and Heyman.
yeah.
Oh my
Oh, him coming back. Yeah. The original. I mean, even though Brock was with him, too, Punk is like the prototypical Paul Heyman guy. You know, if
oh,
if if
100%.
if Punk was around during the Attitude Era, he would have been ECW champion, feuding
Yep.
with RVD. Like it would have
Mhm.
been like that would have been like his guy. So, for Punk, if he does come back, Bloodline, Sammy, Jimmy and Jay,
Mm.
Solo. There's
Oh,
like all those matches right there. And
it
then the
works
main
perfectly.
dog, Roman. It's just that I don't, we really didn't get a chance to see um, Cody. We only got
No.
3 months.
Yeah.
So, you know, it seems so far, presentation wise, theme music, nickname, pyros, all that stuff is carrying over from AEW to WWE for Cody.
Right.
Would that happen? I mean, Punk, everything that Punk does, he did first in WWE. The
Right.
music, like the attitude, which is why he's so over because of that. So I think that outside of the freedom to like curse or like speak your mind with like the
I
shirts
don't
that
even
you would wear.
I don't even think the cursing, like, he didn't really curse that much in AEW, like, a few times, like, I mean, I think his promos listen, if they're gonna negotiate a deal, him and WWE, he's gonna ask for some demands. Like, this isn't just like, "Okay, like, yeah, well, I'll just come back." He's gonna ask for certain things, he's gonna ask for a lot of creative freedom, I would think. He's gonna ask for a ton of money because he's not doing this for free, especially with this buyout. This buyout's gonna be a lot of money. Tony's gonna give him a lot of money just to buy him out of this contract, so he might just sit home for a while. And he has an
So,
injury, so he has to.
so here's my question. All right. So they want to buy Punk out, AEW, because they don't want him in the same company as the Elite. So to me, it looks like they're choosing the Elite over CM Punk,
That's
which
what
is
I'm hearing.
the right decision, in my
Oh,
opinion.
yeah, I agree. Part of me wishes, Tony would just make money off this, just tell him, "You know what, guys, like, enough of this. Like, let's, create some money out of this. Let's get a big buy rate for the pay-per-view." That's what I would do. The old Vince McMahon that I knew, that's what he would have done, but
They're leaving
Tony
money
just
on the table. They're leaving
yeah,
money on the table. That's it. You
they're
gotta.
leaving money on the table.
I. It's crazy to me because it's like, again, like I don't know the details of the contract, but Tony Khan's the boss. All you have to do is be like,
Is he?
"This is what we're doing." If you
Is
don't
he the
like it,
boss?
you're suspect. I mean, he signs the paychecks. Like it's. I don't get how. And this is even just with everyday life. You know, I have a situation in my job to where someone I work with, she oversees a group of people, and two of these people don't want it to conform to the rules like everybody else. They want to make things more difficult, be a little bit more of a headache. So it's like, she's like, oh, that's just how they are. I'm like, no, do something about it. You're the boss. Step in.
Well,
The same
it's
thing
Tony
with
Khan.
Punk. It's the same thing with Punk. Like, stop being a fan and control your company. Take it and run with it. This is money left on the table. If Matt Hardy and Edge could make a program out of, who's banging Lita, to me, that's more personal than, what Punk said. Listen, 3 wrestlers shouldn't be EVPs. They probably couldn't manage a fucking Target. Who knows? But
Who knows?
But my big question is, if you're a WWE, if you're a Triple H, what do you try to do? Do you try to bring in a 44 injury, tired, bitter CM Punk? Or do you gamble on the fact that maybe Omega and the Bucks want to jump over?
Now this Punk seems to be on his way out, I don't see that happening. If Punk stayed, if Tony said, you know what, I'm keeping the Elite and Punk, and you have then that's when Triple H sits there and just waits for the Elite to come towards him. But now that it looks like Punk's on his way out and the Elite are staying, I don't know if you wait for the Elite. Before I would have said, yeah, you wait for the Elite. I'd like to see them in WWE. I'd like to see how that would work. But I think if you're a good businessman, and I think Triple H is, I think you have to talk to Punk. If he doesn't want to talk, then okay, say goodbye. All right, you could sit home and just be miserable. But if Punk does want to talk, and Triple H is a good businessman, they'll do it.
I could see it happening because look at all the relationships within legends from WWE that Triple H repaired that relationship with and the company.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say that over again. Look at all the relationships that Triple H repaired to where, legends left on bad terms with Vince. Bruno. That was bitterness for decades. Triple H fixed it. I
never thought I would see Bruno in the Hall of Fame and shaking Vince's head. When that happened, I was like, okay, anybody will come back now. That's what I thought. That was like the first guy too. Like, he kind of started that. It was like, okay, if he can come back, then why shouldn't I go back? Why can't I make amends? So the Bruno one was really interesting. And I'm happy I got to at least see him in person at WrestleMania 29. That was cool.
Nice. And then Ultimate Warrior. I think Ultimate Warrior is. I think I'm more surprised about Ultimate Warrior being recognized by the company again rather than Bruno.
I'm surprised by both of them, but
they had a DVD.
Yeah.
The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. Fantastic DVD. But who else has a DVD like that? They didn't even make that for WCW. And it's like, wow. It's like it was like personal, I mean, I don't.
Scott Steiner.
Steiner, yes. What?
That's a big one. The things he said about Triple H, the things he said about Stephanie.
Yeah.
When I saw him and Triple H shake hands, I felt like it was like a nightmare or something. It just didn't feel right. I was like, oh my God. Like, when I saw that, I said, seem right. Like, they have to be like, once the camera goes off, they have to be going at each other. Like, there's no way.
Triple H is good at his job. So
he's very good at his job.
I don't see anyone off the table. If If Cody Rhodes
Exactly.
could come back as the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes with all the bells and whistles that got him over as soon as he left WWE, if he could come back with all of that, anything is possible.
Yeah,
Anything.
the feather in the cap for WWE if they got Cena. That'd be like if Tony Khan would might cry himself to sleep if he saw CM Punk walk back into WWE. Tony Khan might just cry. I swear he might.
Where's the Royal Rumble? I think Texas, San Antonio.
I think so. Yeah.
Listen, I don't know what was it 2 months ago, a month ago when he got hurt. When was All Out?
Maybe like about 2 months.
2 months. So he probably got surgery already.
Oh no, he did. Yeah.
So 2 months ago. It's now October. This is November. There's December. Royal Rumbles at the end of the month in January. And listen, it's just almost it's like almost perfect to like how it's like lining up for all these injured guys and gals. And the Royal Rumble is like 3 months away. So
Yeah.
anything could happen. I feel like, you know what though? You know what you need with Punk if he does come to WWE and I'm Triple H? There's a one strike rule. If you do anything unbecoming of an employee or independent contractor to where you make the company look bad and have an outburst like that, you're toast. You get no buyout, you get nothing. But it obviously has to be justifiable. You can't just make anything up just to get rid of him. It has to be something to that extent because it's just he's too much of a liability.
Under WWE management, I think he'd be a little toned down backstage, just a bit. I don't think we're going to be hearing if he goes back there. I don't think we're going to be hearing of him getting in a brawl backstage because number one, I don't think Triple H allows that. I don't think Triple H is. I don't think Triple H is going to allow that to happen, or Stephanie, or Nick Khan. I mean, these are, the other side. We're talking about Tony Khan. Nick Khan, he's a big deal over there at WWE. Stephanie McMahon's not going to allow that either. I see a more toned down CM Punk backstage in WWE, especially if he's part time. If he's part time, like I said, have him do what Brock does. Come in, do what you got to do it well, which he always does, and leave. That's it. Brock, it's not like Brock's sitting backstage after his segment. He's going on the private jet going home. Please. So I can see them doing that with CM Punk. Just why not? I mean,
I could see Punk being like, "You want me back? I want my wife in the Hall of Fame." I know. He doesn't care. It's not about that. It's about the recognition. And if you think about it, AJ Lee was the pioneer for the women's revolution. And she couldn't even be there for it.
She's always talked about WWE, like, in all the interviews I've seen of her do, she's talked positively about WWE and her experience there and Vince even. So I think when it comes to Punk and her, I think they have two different experiences because everything that I've heard her do and talk about WWE, it's always been positive. Even Vince, like I saw an interview with her where she even talked pretty positively about Vince. So obviously they're married, and I'm sure she doesn't appreciate how they treated Punk, but I think Punk's a good businessman. Triple H is a good businessman. I think something gets worked out. It'll
You
be
know
the
what?
most. It'll probably be the most complicated contract in the history of wrestling. But I think it. I think something might get worked out if this buyout even happens at this point.
You know what? I don't know if it's because we're talking about it, but Punk versus AJ Styles, Punk versus Balor, Punk versus
A
Seth
lot.
freaking Rollins,
Yep.
Punk
Punk versus
versus
Cody.
Roman. Oh, Punk versus Cody. And you know what? Make it about AEW. You know, like Cody, if they get into a
Could,
feud,
but
Cody would be like, "Fancy seeing you here." Like, boom, that's perfect.
they could have a lot to talk about. They could have a lot to discuss because not for nothing, but CM Punk, when CM Punk was there and Cody was there at the same time, they never even came close to crossing paths. I don't know if that was on purpose. I don't know, is there a history there? Or did somebody not want to work with each other? I don't know, probably not, but that'd be pretty good. I'd like to see that. I wish we could see Punk and Triple H, but
I know.
that's not gonna happen. I mean, I'm sure they're
Oh,
gonna have their moments. I'm sure they'll have moments on TV where they're cutting promos back and forth. But look at us, we're booking this, and it might not even happen.
I know, but you know what? Fantasy booking's the best.
Fantasy booking.
Fantasy booking's the best. You know, it's great. You could have Triple H in Chicago, no less,
Hmm.
being like, "Welcome to Monday Night." Static hits, and then
Yeah.
Punk's music. The place would erupt. Place would
Oh
erupt.
my God, it would go. It might get a bigger pop than he got when he came in the doors for AEW. Here's the problem about Punk. Um, Nobody wanted him in AEW.
You're right.
Everybody wanted to see him
Come
come
home.
back to WWE. That was the story.
Yeah.
He had a bad, he left on bad terms. Everybody wanted to see him back there. When he went to AEW, it was kind of like, okay, we're happy to see you, but
It's not the same.
it's not the same, and there's no story. Like, they made stories. He had, like I said, the best feud ever with MJF and AEW. That was the best feud AEW's ever had. He had a good feud with Eddie Kingston. I mean, but Adam Page, the one with Adam Page was like, that's how we're here now. But
Yeah, right. That's what started everything. I think Punk is realizing that this shit's just dysfunctional everywhere. It's not just WWE.
no,
And you know, if I'm Punk, like it's hard because if he goes back, does he look like a hypocrite for everything, or is it different now because there's a new regime running the show? Because look at the OC, they were very critical
oh
when they
God,
were
Carl
released.
Anderson literally tweeted it out.
Yeah, he was like, "Fuck Paul Heyman, fuck Vince McMahon, this and that," and you know, Vince has been gone for 3 months now. July 22nd, I checked it this today. Triple H has been running the show for 3 months,
Yeah,
and
he's got his problems with Triple H too, though. I mean, uh, this is where it comes down to if you're good businessmen. If you're a good businessman, you'll forget all about the bad blood but if you're gonna bring up the past, then where are we gonna go from here? How's that gonna affect the contract that he's trying to get? So it's very interesting. It's gonna be a very interesting. We're not officially on it, but the road to WrestleMania is gonna might be a little hectic to come more Rumble time.
I mean, if you think about it, the road to WrestleMania starts right after Survivor Series because that's the
Yeah.
last pay-per-view until the Rumble.
Mhm.
And I know people say, the road to WrestleMania begins after the Rumble, but It's usually end of the year, beginning of January,
Yeah,
when you kind of have an idea of like how Mania is going to shape up.
true.
And, you know, there's just so many questions up in the
And I
air.
love it.
And listen, I love it too. I don't want to know. I want to be surprised. I don't want to see on Twitter or see all over Facebook, oh, rumored this, rumored that. Why? Why? I know like what we do is not like that. We're not like dirt sheet guys. Like we're fantasy booking CM Punk coming back and it might not even
Right.
happen. But like that's the best part about wrestling because you could do that and it's like it's fun and it's a lot's going on and who knows, when Cody's coming back, when Becky's coming back, if Rock is coming back, you
It's a
know.
lot of questions, and for so many years, you knew exactly what was going to happen. You knew what the main event of WrestleMania was going to be. You knew who was going to win it. You knew who was getting that monster push. It hasn't been like that. Even the Royal Rumble, you knew who was going to win. You're like, all right, he's going to win. Like, let's just expect it at that point. This year, we have no clue. I don't know. My guess is Cody wins it.
I think that's what the two nights of WrestleMania really, really does now for the
Mm,
Rumble because the Rumble's not like it used to be to where you're either pushing the next guy or you're fantasy booking your own main event via the Royal Rumble. So like Brock winning it last year, you didn't think that was happening until you heard his music hit. And
that
that Royal
Rumble was
Rumble,
horrible.
that Royal Rumble
That
was
Rumble, really.
absolutely terrible. But
Uh,
before we jump into that, we talked about CM Punk for almost a half hour, and this was the most civil I've been about it because, listen back to previous episodes. You know how I feel about Punk.
yeah.
But what I want to know is for those listening out there, what do you want to see happen with CM Punk? I did put up a poll the other day when I heard about, the buyout potentially happening. And I asked, what should AEW, blah, 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 blah. Sorry. What should AEW do with CM Punk? Should they keep him or should they dump him? I don't know the exact percentage, but it was more 60-40 that AEW should keep him. Now, I'm curious to see
Wow.
if people would like to see him back in WWE. So, for those listening out there, tweet us and tell us what you think about CM Punk potentially making a return to WWE. And you know what? Yeah, let us know how you feel. And hopefully it happens because now I'm kind of like hyping myself up and I kind of want to see it. So I'll put a poll up too on our Twitter page and just to, gauge what the Twitter universe thinks. So yeah, that's interesting to see.
After this week's Raw,
Will's
I'd like to see him.
so the real question is, will CM Punk come back to the WWE? Who knows?
I know what my answer is, but I know there's a lot of working for Wrestling Inc. I've been seeing a lot of pushback from fans online about possibly him coming back. Also, I mean, I've seen some people say, yeah, bring him back, but a majority of people right now, it looks like, don't want him back in WWE. And I understand it, but he wouldn't go back as a full-time guy. If you bring him back as a part-time guy, it all should work out.
You gotta do it the right way.
And by the way, Tony Khan isn't in charge in WWE. It's a whole new management. It's a whole new leadership over there. And trust me when I tell you, they don't lead like Tony Khan leads.
And that's a good thing. So
That's a very good thing.
maybe that's why, who knows? Maybe in 2024 we'll get a better, more long-lived MJF CM Punk feud, but in WWE.
God, that would be the money they could do with that in WWE. That'd be unbelievable. I mean, you put CM Punk and MJF on Raw. Ooh. Tell you what, it makes that show better.
Oh, absolutely.
Not that it hasn't been better since Triple H has, been in charge, but this week's Raw was. Oh, you
Let's
talk
talk
about
about it.
mid. You talk about mid. Yeah, it was mid, all right. I don't know if you watched much of it.
Monday. Was that the day that the Yankees got swept by the Astros? Yes.
Was it
I
that
think,
day?
was it on Monday?
Or was it Sunday? Maybe Sunday. I don't remember. The
Sunday.
Yankees are out of my mind right now after that
I
weak
don't
performance.
That was, yeah. I think that's what I was doing. I think I was flipping between. I was trying to give the Yankees the support that they needed, and then
They need life support.
they did. Apparently, Raw did too.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I was like back and forth on it. I caught maybe the JBL Baron Corbin lead into the Gargano match. I was like half on melatonin at night. I was trying to go to sleep. I had a
You needed
early
it with
morning.
that show.
I had an early morning on Tuesday, and then I'm watching it, and I'm seeing Bailey and Bianca as the main event, non-title main, and they got a lot of time. I know I'm jumping to the main event, but this is probably one of the only things that I saw. I was like, there's so much time, and like, are they catching up on commercial breaks? I'm like, what are they doing?
They had like 3.
I thought, I don't know why, because I read it on Twitter and I was like, oh, that could happen. I thought, because we haven't seen Asuka, we haven't seen Alexa, we haven't seen Candice. I'm like, yo, my girl Bianca needs some BEST friends to come help her. So I'm like, who's better than Sasha and Naomi? I fell for it. I was like, damn it. I'm like, damn you, Twitter.
I didn't think they were coming back, just because I don't think if they're going to come back, they're going to come back on a major show. Like, I don't think we see them till maybe Survivor Series. I could see and maybe after the women's War Games, I could see them coming out or making an impact in that. But the Bianca and Bailey match, it was a good match, but it just went on forever. It wasn't a title match. If you're going to have them main event, let it be a title match. Why is it not a title match? And then
because Bailey got the dub. That's why.
I guess so. But and then here comes Nikki Cross, which thank God she's not a superhero anymore. I couldn't stand to watch that anymore.
Honestly, I agree with you. I've been tweeting that for months. I'm like, get this girl out of this Halloween bullshit. I like how it's a week before Halloween and she ditched the costume. That needs to be her promo on Raw. She goes, it may be Halloween, but dressed up is over. And the only thing I want to dress up with is the Raw Women's Championship. Boom. That's the promo. She realizes, holy shit, I got to be taken more seriously. And I dig it because I feel like everything is stagnant on Raw with the women's division. We talked about this with Damage Control.
Becky back.
I thought at first that Nikki was joining Damage Control. Then I was like, oh, wait, no. I'm like, she took out Dakota and Io.
The way they did that return was number one. Before we even say this, the crowd was horrible.
Terrible.
Oh my god, that was one of the worst WWE crowds of the year. The show was mid to begin with, but they made it feel like it was even worse than that. It just sometimes a good crowd, can save a mid show.
Yes,
Like
I agree.
it can. Like I've seen some shows where like it wasn't all that great, but the crowd got me invested. It got me into it. They were into it, so I was into it. The crowd could have cared less about Nikki Cross. She came out there. I mean, she got some booze, but first they didn't even. I didn't even know who it was. Even
Me either.
commentary, even commentary was like, "Who's that? Like, who just came out and did that?" And I was like, "Who the hell?" And then at the end, they saw. I mean, it was you could see it was Nikki, but I don't know if that was the right way to bring her back. I don't know. It just the crowd stunk. The way they went about it, it just didn't feel right. Um, I don't know. It just I'm happy she's back to being Nikki Cross, but that's how you end the episode of Raw?
I
I don't
know
know. Like,
it really didn't make
ah,
much sense.
no. I just was like, I was expecting Charlotte Flair. That's who I thought it was. I was waiting for it. I was like, oh, it's because Charlotte's gonna come out. She's gonna come back. But when I saw Nikki, I was like, okay, well that's different. But that's how you ended the show. I, the, I don't know. I wouldn't have ended it like that. For me, I would have ended the show with um the Judgment Day and the OC stuff. That was the best part of the show, and the crowd was into it too. The first half hour of Raw
Well, yeah, I was
was
just looking that
fantastic.
up. It was
It
really
was
good.
fantastic. The segment, the promo segment between them was great. Judgment Day is getting a lot of heel heat from the crowd, and then you have a great match with Finn Balor and Carl Anderson. Even Rhea slammed Luke Gallows on the outside, which was great. That the crowd was on fire for it, and then after that, the show took a dive. After that,
It really did, and um, I wanted to talk about that, the Judgment Day and the OC. I'm on board with this version of Dominic Mysterio. Give me more. Listen, he's still coming into his own, on the mic. I mean, I'm built different, not I'm built differently, but it's cool.
right?
It's cool. It's cool, Dom. I figured, you would know this. You're a young kid, so I figured you would be up on your pop culture, but you're not. But I love where this is going with him in the group, with Rhea, like just like the small comments, like how like they're banging or whatever, and how that's like how she's like manipulating him in a way. And I think it's just such a good story because he has the look, kinda. He just needs my dude needs to hit the gym. I'm sorry. I'm not body shaming the guy, but you need to put on a little muscle because you're not a luchador. You're way too tall. And I just feel like, look the part in a way. Like commit to the role. When you're an actor, like The Rock playing Black Adam, do you think he stopped working out? He worked out even more, you know? Or like Colin Farrell playing the Penguin in the Batman. He had to look like a fat slob to get to that point of the character. That's what Dominic needs to do. Just, put on a little muscle. And because like when he does the Three Amigos, it's terrible. It's
He
it's the
need
other person doing it.
Yeah, I'd say this, he's a lot more interesting now that he's away from Ray.
100%. 100%.
His promos, the crowd anytime he speaks, he's getting like nuclear heat here. But
I love it.
his promos, I listen to them and I just can't believe them. Like, it's not believable. His in-ring work is
Mid. Ha! I use
yeah,
it.
it's mid. It's very mid. He could use time in NXT, but with the story that they're telling, it really doesn't matter to me how good he does in the ring, how good he does on promos, because the story means more right now. And you know, I'll excuse his promo skills and some of his wrestling skills for the good story that they're telling. I'll put it that way. Because they are telling a good story. It is intriguing. He's more interesting. And sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, I agree. What
Yeah. Him being AJ Styles 2 weeks ago, I don't know if I would have done that, but
and
hey,
dude,
he
that
needs to get some wins.
and that's what I'm talking about. Like, did you see that schoolboy?
Yeah,
Bro, bro,
it's
you
not
you
good.
could have went
Yeah.
and he would have tipped over, a little blow, and Dominic's flying to the ropes. Like, it was just so I want believable. At least when Rey Mysterio was like beating, Kane, Batista, and all these, at least he's jacked, and doing it.
He
Like, he has
he's
some
not his
mess to him.
father. He's not his father because
Try.
Rey Mysterio is he's such a rare talent because he's a smaller guy, but he has that underdog in him. Like you
He's
think
got
back to WrestleMania 22 when
he's got the dog in him.
he's got the dog in him, and you think back to when he won the world title in the Royal Rumble, and it didn't need to be somebody like a Brock Lesnar. It made sense because it's Ray, and he
It
can get
only
over that
happened.
way.
It only happened. That whole thing only happened because Eddie died. Ray wouldn't
Well,
have been in that position if Eddie didn't die.
probably not, but it
Orton
made for a
Orton's
good
winning the
story.
Rumble. Orton should have won that title, but he got popped for, I think, from marijuana, or he shit in a
Eddie,
diva's bag or something.
the Eddie death was so unexpected and
It was
so
terrible.
just terrible, and I wish Eddie was still around. I really do, because he would be all the things he could have been able to do, and
I know.
it's just sad. But yeah, I think Dom has. I think Dom is still in the shadow of his father, even though they're separated now, and Ray's on SmackDown and Dom's on Raw. He's still in the shadow. I mean, they're always going to look at him as, okay, that's Ray's son, you know. Whereas, I would argue, somebody like Charlotte Flair, it is Ric Flair's daughter, but she's kind of, you know, she's kind of a star in her own right now. And I think Dom needs to get to that point where, okay, I'm a star in my own right. You know, I have my own shadow instead of being behind my father's.
I think the in ring too, like Charlotte's just
Oh yeah,
amazing in the ring. I think
yeah.
if you just saw at least some progress or some skill.
I think he's
It looks like
slowly
he's
seeing
in
it.
there. It looks like Dom's in there because he's Rey Mysterio's kid. That's it. I
Oh
don't.
yeah, yeah. If
It
this was
his
anybody else,
ass belongs in NXT. It does,
yeah, yeah.
and it's not a knock on him.
No,
It's just it is what it is. He needs that extra skill. He's not
there's
there
a
yet.
there's a lot of better, especially me who I do coverage on NXT, and there's a lot of a lot better in-ring wrestlers in NXT than Dom. There's
Exactly.
I mean, like I said, it fits the story. If he wasn't Rey Mysterio's son, it would make no sense because it'd just be some random dude on television. It wouldn't make any sense, but it makes sense for the story. So you kind of have to give it a pass, and I think that's what a lot of people are doing. And you know what? It's working. It is.
I agree. Listen, I agree. The story's saving his lackluster in-ring performances.
Oh
Like the
yeah.
story's good, and the story seems to be picking up because who are the OC gonna bring in female wise to help combat Rhea?
That's a good. I mean, I'm thinking Beth Phoenix, but at the
Ooh.
same time, I don't know how that makes sense because where's Edge? Wouldn't Edge and Beth
Well,
come back at the
they
same
still took
time?
Edge out. They took Edge out.
True,
So maybe,
true.
listen, maybe that could happen. And, you know, just because there's 2 war games at Survivor Series doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to get traditional Survivor Series matches like the 5-on-5.
Oh no, we're not getting that.
We're
I
not
don't think
going
we're
to,
getting that. No, the War Games is replacing that. I don't
right?
think we're
But
getting a 5-on-5 elimination. I think the point of the War Games was to kind of freshen up Survivor Series because it was just kind of getting stale with the elimination matches, and it didn't really, no one really cared about it anymore. War Games kind of is saving Survivor Series. So I don't think we're getting any elimination matches. I could be wrong, but I doubt it.
I'm looking at how it's being, I guess, how the stories are going, because obviously they're pushing Bloodline, and I guess what Sheamus, like, I mean, it's
Yeah, Brawling Brutes, and maybe I don't know who else you'd stick in there. Maybe um, I was just about to say Logan Paul, but I don't think that's the last thing. Um, I don't know.
see,
Maybe Drew.
yeah, Drew. I mean, there's Drew, there's Bray.
No, yeah, maybe Bray. I, I think they're going down a different path with Bray. I don't know what path that might be, but we'll find out. Maybe he has his own faction himself, and maybe it's Bray's faction against Roman's faction, and the Brawling Brutes are just doing something else. But yeah,
So, so
something
then
to think
who do
about.
you? So then who would you, if Survivor Series is, I guess it's what, next month? Yeah, next month. So who's in the War Games? Is it the Bloodline and whoever they're feuding with, or is it going
Yeah,
to be the OC plus versus Judgment Day?
I don't think I wouldn't put that in a War Games because I don't know.
Because you
Because
could
I would
do,
put Bloodline. Bloodline's a top faction in WWE. I would put them in the War Games. Make War Games feel like a big deal. I don't know if the OC and Judgment Day I mean, because the men's War Games is probably going to main event the show. I can't see it being OC and Judgment Day. I just can't see that being the main event. I see Bloodline against maybe Bray Wyatt, like a Bray Wyatt faction. I could see, maybe.
and this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. How we have no fucking idea, and it's amazing because it's like it could
It's
be
great.
anything, and there's still so much time because we still have Crown Jewel. So who even knows what's going
Yeah.
to happen? In 2 Saturdays from now, that's going to shape up Survivor Series.
Oh yeah. I mean, the women's one, I have a good feeling of what it's going to be. It's probably going to be Damage Control. Um, Maybe add a few more members. Maybe Indy Hartwell, put her in there.
Yeah, but
And then against a team against Bianca.
Damage Control took out Candice. Indy and Candice
True.
have that
True.
relationship. It's I feel like you're gonna have to grab, like you said it, I think last week, Toxic Attraction. Damage Control and Toxic Attraction.
I thought so.
Bianca. I mean, but who does Raw even have? Or do you put Nikki Cross because she looks to be a heel? You could put Nikki Cross with Damage. There's just so
There's so
many
many combinations you
opportunities.
could do. I thought they would bring in Toxic Attraction, but Mandy just retained the title, and so
1 year,
1 year,
year as NXT Women's Champion, Mandy
it's
Rose.
unbelievable the run she's on. But I don't know what
Ooh,
I really don't know
Mandy.
what they're waiting for. They need to bring them up. I mean, Raw needs it. SmackDown needs it. I keep saying this. They need Becky back. They
They
need
do.
Charlotte back. They need to get Sasha and Naomi back in the fold. And they need them back.
This may sound fucked up, but do we even really need Naomi?
If you want the tag team division
I
to
mean,
be something.
yeah, but you know what you got to do? After all this, you got to put Naomi with the Bloodline. Put her with Jay, and that's
Yeah.
how she came back because Roman runs things, and I don't know. There's so many ways to work it, and it could even push the Jimmy and Jay dissension that you're seeing to where Roman did Jimmy the favor, got his
You
wife back, and
yeah,
Jimmy's
you
like,
could
"Hey,
do
Jay,
it.
you got to chill, you got to chill being such a hothead." So
I think if
so
Sasha
much.
so much you could do. But I think if Sasha and Naomi come back, they're gonna want to remain as a tag team and go for those belts. Because they've been a duo, especially since they left WWE. They're doing everything together. So I think they come in together as a tandem.
I could see that. We have a comment from Ladarius. Hold on a second. Let me just trying to write down the time. Ladarius is saying that the Bloodline has to be part of War Games. Call up some talent from NXT like Indy Hartwell and the team of Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. The main rosters need help like yesterday.
Yeah, the women's division right now is very stagnant. I mean, part of that is due to Becky being out, Charlotte being out, Sasha and Naomi being gone. But Darius is right. They need to bring up some women from NXT, maybe Nikita Lyons and
Oh yes, bring her up. Yeah,
like I said, Toxic
bring her
Attraction,
up. I'll let her
Katana
pin me.
Chase.
You know what I'm saying?
I get Chase and Carter's a good one too. I just watched them last night, so they need to start building it up. I mean, Nikki Cross coming back is a good start, but need to get a little deeper than that.
Where's Dewdrop? If Nikki's back,
The last time I heard, she was in NXT doing stuff.
why? She was good for the main roster.
I don't. She's not off the main roster. I
Okay.
just think, they've been doing things on NXT. They've been bringing main roster people up. Hell, R-Truth was on the show last night.
I saw a clip of that. Not a clip, but like I flashed by and I saw R-Truth was on.
I love me some R-Truth. He was on Raw too on Monday, and now he's on NXT. He's going to be on NXT again next week. So at least they're using him. He's an entertaining guy.
Yeah, especially if there's no 24/7 title anymore.
God, I've never been happier to see that title just not on my screen.
It was funny for what it was worth.
It was funny for a week, and then it was just like, all right. I was like, okay, at the end of this.
How many years was that around for? Because I remember Mick Foley introduced it.
6 years.
6 years? What?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he introduced it in 2016 or maybe 2017. So 5 or 6 years.
Really?
Yep. I think so.
I gotta look this up.
I think it has been that long.
I have to look
Because the
this
last
up.
time Mick Foley was GM was in 2016.
I'm on the wiki.
I think Dana Brooke is still the champion. Probably.
Okay, no. So it wasn't when. All right. So it wasn't when Foley was commissioner, but they did have him unveil it only because it was 24/7, and they were trying to probably hype it up like the hardcore title. But it was
Oh, all right.
2019 after the Money in the
Whoa,
Bank pay-per-view.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
All right. Because I was gonna be like six. If it was 6 years, our truth would have been like the first 1,000th time ever 24/7 champion.
I guess I forgot when he came back and did that. I thought he was still a GM or whatever, but
But you know
yeah,
what? That's how
I'm
bad
just
it was.
oh god, it's so bad. I mean, they like one or two segments I remember that were really good. I think Drake Maverick was in it with R-Truth. They tried to make it interesting, but oh god, it was just terrible after that.
The skits were funny, like Drake Maverick
Yeah,
losing the title at his wedding. Like
that
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 shit
was
was
probably
funny.
the only funny that one was good, but
But that's what it should have been. Just like skits for like TikTok, Twitter, put on their Instagram page. But I went to a couple of Raws in the Prudential Center, which I have to say, after being there one time, it's the biggest piece of shit that I've ever fucking been to. It's absolutely terrible. It makes
a
sense
live
why
Raw.
it makes sense why the Devils play there because the place is absolutely fucking garbage. I
I've never been there.
couldn't. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your money going. The staff is rude. People do whatever the hell they want. People were standing in front of me. I'm like, I can't see. Can you ask him to sit? She said, this attendant was like, I can't do that. I'm like, then what is your job? Like,
Yeah,
they're like,
what are you here for?
what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And then, that's when they were doing the whole 24/7 thing where they were running through the crowd, being chased. I'm like, there's
Ugh.
Carmella. But like it
Oh my god, I forgot about her.
was okay at that point, but it was
Right.
just totally unnecessary. And it should have been like a TikTok, a social media thing to where, someone gets surprised and they lose it. And then it gets a couple of thousand views, and that's that.
I didn't mind it for just the talent that had nothing to do and kind of were just sitting and catering. At least they had something to do.
But yeah, but some talent that was involved in it never should have been involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just ridiculous. But
Like you have nothing for Jeff Hardy at the
oh
time.
god, when I saw that happen, I almost just cringed. It was just so bad. But yeah, I mean, now we have no WWE, and now we have AEW Dynamite tonight.
Oh
I'll be doing
wow.
coverage. Yeah.
Wow, tonight's Wednesday.
Yep.
I totally forgot that it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be doing live coverage for AEW, and
yeah.
being that there's nothing on for me tonight, and the Yankees broke my heart, and they're home recuperating. I'm gonna watch the final 2 episodes of The Watcher
There we go.
because I don't know if you heard my wife in the background, but she echoed my statement by saying, and I quote, "You damn right, bitch." So clearly, you guys know who makes the decisions in this house. Not me. So AEW tonight, you're going to be, and I've been slacking because we haven't been using our banners, but let me throw it up there and let me do a little switcheroo. Sal will be live tweeting as he does for all of the main shows. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes Saturday, even on Sundays. Sal is on the Rasslin Inc. Twitter handle, and he will be live tweeting AEW. And it would probably be the most entertaining thing you do on Wednesdays if you are watching AEW because, hasn't really been up to par since everything. So, what are you looking forward to, Sal, tonight with
Um,
AEW?
FTR is going to be on there, which I always love when FTR is on TV because they don't get a lot of television time for whatever reason that might be. I have to ask Tony Khan. I don't know. Let's not have the best tag team wrestling on TV regularly. So that'll be nice. They're going against Swerve and Keith Lee. So that should be a good match. Should be the match of the night. You got an AEW title match for whatever reason. John Moxley is going against Penta. Why Penta is getting a title match, I don't know.
I,
but we're gonna have it.
I thought wins and losses mattered. I thought the
Oh,
whole
not anymore
point
to AEW. No.
did Penta win his championship contender match or his championship
No.
eliminator match?
No. Tony Khan woke up the other day and said, you know what? We need a title match. So we're gonna get a title match tonight.
I'm getting triggered because
yeah. Let's give Penta a title match. Why not?
I used to travel to work in the city. And when I would do that, I wouldn't have the luxury of, what I'm able to do while I work from home. So when I did work in the city, I would listen to Busted Open Radio via the Sirius XM app on my cell phone. And I like Dave LaGreca. I like, Bully. They have a great cast. They have Tommy Dreamer. They have Mark Henry. They have Gabby, who is like their producer, who does her own segment on, I guess, women's wrestling. It's been quite a while since I've listened to a full show, but you would think that they were the PR people for Tony Khan, because this motherfucker's always on this show all the time, and it's almost like, my guy, you're the owner of the company. Like, who cares what Eric Bischoff is saying about your stories and how you're booking it? Why are you focused? Why are you focused? I forgot about it until you mentioned Tony Khan. I was like, I don't want to talk about this, but here we are. I don't understand why this guy is so focused on everybody outside of the company, but not the ones within the company. Who cares what Triple H is doing? Who cares what Eric Bischoff is saying? If you are on the right path, as you say you are, then continue to do your thing. Continue to move on. Don't worry about what other people are saying, whether they're right or wrong.
He lives on Twitter. He lives on Twitter. He lives on the internet. And he wants to know what everybody is saying, and he wants to know what the dirt sheets are saying. He wants to know what the wrestling news sites are saying. He wants to know what ex talent and certain legends in the business are saying. And if I'm him, just focus on you. Focus on you and your company. Yeah, take advice. I'm not saying don't take advice. You listen to these people that are giving you advice. They're legends of the business, but God, like anybody that has anything critical to say, he wants to just attack them. Like, it's Eric Bischoff. I think he's been in the trenches. He knows wrestling. He knows what's going on. And I don't know. It's just...
You know what Bischoff should do? It's funny. In a fantasy football league, and my team is absolutely terrible. I'm like 1-6. So I talk shit. I have fun, whatever. There's this other kid, same record, and he just talks like he thinks he knows everything when his record says otherwise. So my brother-in-law, every time he talks shit, he'll just go 1-6. Now it's 2-6 because the kid won last week. But no matter what he says, like whoever he says this player is better than the other one, all my brother-in-law goes is 2-6. Anytime Tony Khan rebuttals to Eric Bischoff should only say 83 weeks. 83 weeks. until you could beat the main show, Monday Night Raw, for 84 weeks, then you could clap back. But until then,
He
sit in your
said that.
chair.
Eric Bischoff has said that so many times, and it just doesn't get in his brain. I mean, Tony's just, I don't know. He doesn't take criticism very well. He just doesn't. And he has to. I mean, you gotta take criticism. Criticism is gonna come. You're the owner of a major company. You're gonna be criticized.
And
What
if,
you know?
it's like when Paul Heyman criticizes, you listen, because he, regardless of what happened in the end with ECW, he knows his shit. He knows this business. He's been around his
The
entire life.
reason why
Eric
he's still in
Bischoff,
it.
yeah, and he's Paul Heyman is still in the business and he's still relevant, which is crazy. Because in 2002, 20 years ago, is when he debuted as a manager for Brock. And you know what? 20 years later, he was still working with Brock as his manager, and now he's with Roman. He surrounds himself with main guys because he's smart and he knows what he's talking about. He knows the business, he gets it. Bischoff is the same way. He tried to get a job in WWF. He was told, interview this broom, pal. Interviewed a broom, didn't get the job, went to WCW, became president, ran Nitro, blank check, signed everybody. He beat Vince McMahon, 83 weeks in a row. It took a chair shot from Stone Cold and a 1-2-3 with Mankind pinning The Rock to break that streak and for WWF to take off and eventually buy out, WCW. So Bischoff tried to put Vince out of business, went to work for Vince for years, left, went to TNA, not to try to do the same thing by putting Vince out of business, but he tried to make TNA more relevant. He got TNA on Monday nights for a little bit, until they got stomped. Left TNA, went back to WWE, went into the Hall of Fame, did some shit with AEW, came back to WWE. So Bischoff knows what he's talking about. If Bischoff is going to say something, I'm going to listen and I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm like, fuck this guy, but I'm going to start writing it down. Like, but you know what? He's right.
I mean,
He's right,
this recent criticism is, Eric Bischoff is saying, why are some of these matches happening? They make no sense, and Tony clapped back and said, Eric Bischoff kind of did the same thing. He's being a hypocrite. He kind of put on matches that made no sense either. But guess what? The matches that Eric Bischoff put on, yeah, maybe they were random at times, but they drew a lot more money and drew a lot more ratings than you did. So
yeah,
and it's something to be said about that. I mean, it was Eric Bischoff a perfect booker, a perfect president? No, I mean he had a lot of problems, but let's not forget all the great things he did.
Yeah, and that was 20 years ago. Just because it worked back then doesn't mean it's working currently now.
No.
So if Bischoff, who did this in the past, and sees Tony doing it, and it's like, this isn't working, that's when he's going to say something. It's not, I didn't hear the full criticism that Bischoff said, but I don't know, did he say that this never ever works in wrestling and this never should be done? Or that it's not working right now, that it doesn't make any sense? Because you said it too yourself. John Moxley versus Penta for the title. It's out of nowhere. It makes no why? Sense.
Will it could be a good match? Probably, but who cares? I mean,
yeah,
it's a cold title match. You just gave Penta a title match for what? He's the trios champion right now. Why is he in a world title match? I don't get it, but there's a lot of things that AEW does that I just don't get, and I'm just tired of trying to figure out why certain things are being done.
Well, I guess you're lucky enough that you get to tweet about it later
I mean,
tonight.
it should be a good show. I mean, will it make all the sense in the world? No, but you know, you take the bad with the good.
Yeah. And you know what? You had last Wednesday off because they were on Tuesday.
Yeah,
So
well,
maybe they're knocking it out of the park tonight. Who knows? Because
yeah, we don't know.
that's what we want. Like,
Hmm.
when I'm critical on AEW, it's not because I'm a WWE drone. It's because I call out shit that just doesn't make sense. Like what we said about Nikki Cross. Bitch came out looking like Sandra D from Greece. Like,
I don't know what the
tell me
hell.
about it, stud. Dropping on people. It's like, who is she? And then, she's on top of Bailey, on top of Bianca. We still don't know who she is. And then I think maybe the camera guy messed up because it
I
looked
don't know
like
what happened.
we were supposed to see when she was on the turnbuckle, see like her face, see her jump.
Her hair was in the way.
Yeah, like everything was, not the best, and we're critical about that. Hopefully, tonight everybody loves AEW like they love the Acclaimed.
Yeah. Everybody loves the Acclaim. I hope the Acclaims are on tonight. I don't know. I didn't see if they were, but I'm sure they'll pop up.
Good. Hopefully they do. And I mean, looking at my notes, which I don't have many, but I think we covered majority of the topics that we wanted to discuss
Yeah.
today.
I mean, most of it was Punk, and obviously that's kind of the bigger story going around right now. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens with that.
it's interesting.
It's very
Absolutely.
interesting. Like I said, come Survivor Series time, Royal Rumble time. Oh boy, buckle up.
Buckle up, buckaroo. That's weird. Alrighty. Well, I appreciate, everyone listening. We had a great show.
Mm-hmm.
We will be back next Wednesday to where we will do a crown jewel preview, and we'll do our predictions like we normally do.
Yes.
And we hope to see you guys there. So take care. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever podcast you listen to, we're there. So take care. We'll see you later.
See you
Peace
guys
out,
later.
guys.